He grew up out on Long Island, New York. He was actually a farm boy. Gail, you'll appreciate this. His dad was a potato farmer on Long Island. You won't appreciate it, okay? All right. He's a graduate of Notre Dame. He played baseball at Notre Dame. He was a pitcher. He said he was better in high school than he was at Notre Dame. That's pretty humble. He, after graduating, getting a degree in accounting, went to work as a public accountant for about 3 years. Then he was with Disney, Laura, for 2 years in finance. Then he got his first job in athletics back at Notre Dame as ticket manager and assistant financial officer. He did that for 3 years. He was at Notre Dame a total of 5. And then he was tapped by the U.S. Naval Academy to be the chief financial officer. He followed a guy that served there, what'd you say, 62 years? 62 years. Yeah, so there were a few things that needed to be modernized. So they brought in a Notre Dame graduate, and he was there 5 years. He got his first athletic director job at Akron. He was there 4.5 years before moving on to Xavier, where he served for 15 years. And then he was at Georgia Tech when Mitch Daniels and who came down? Mike Berghoff, the chairman of the board, came down to pay him a visit. And they sold him on coming to Purdue. And Mike, we're just delighted to have you here at Purdue, and the microphone's yours.
Can you hear me if I don't use this? Is that all right?
No.
No? All right, I'll use it. There you go. I get it. It is a little better. Well, thank you, Jim, first of all. I appreciate you all having me today. It's a great group of people, and appreciate all you do for the community. Congratulations to our scholarship winner here today. That's an awesome opportunity, and Boulder's a great place. You'll enjoy your time there. That's a really, really good thing. Jim did a nice job and really described my background really very, very well. I'll talk a little bit more about, now this is year 33 for me in college athletics. It's which is hard to believe. It's been a long and interesting journey, but I'm really fortunate. I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to work in that environment day in and day out. There's lots of different ways. We all make our living in different ways, but to get a chance to do that around really talented, really motivated young people day in and day out is really special. It's what keeps you energized. It's what makes the job something different than just another job. And we had an event the other night called the Golden Peats where we award some of the really spectacular things that happen and recognize the best performances and the most outstanding young people amongst our 500 plus student athletes. And when you see who they are and what they've accomplished and their ability to be great students and great athletes, it's inspiring. It really is. It's inspiring, and it's what keeps you young and what keeps you excited. And I'm very, very fortunate to have had the chance now for a long time to work in that world. So I'm very blessed and again appreciative. So what I thought I'd talk a little bit about is sort of the Purdue opportunity. As Jim mentioned, when I went to Georgia Tech, I was at Georgia Tech, but when I went there, that was to me my last job. I didn't think I thought I would retire from Georgia Tech 10 years from now, 12, 15, whatever it was going to be. That was it. I had been at Xavier for 15 years. I'm going to go to Georgia Tech, do the same thing, and then call it a day, and right off into the sunset. Had no intention of being anywhere else. And Georgia Tech's a wonderful school. It's very similar to Purdue in lots of ways. Has a really similar engineering and technical focus, even actually more focused than Purdue is in that area, because it just doesn't have as many other opportunities. But it's in a city. Atlanta's an amazing city, other than the fact you can't drive anywhere. It's really it's got a lot of good things going on otherwise. But as Jim mentioned, I was actually at an ACC meeting down in Florida, and I had a call from someone saying, "Hey, would you be willing to have a conversation with the president of Purdue and the chairman of their board, just to talk to them about sort of what they're doing?" They're about to enter into a search. Their longtime athletic director, Morgan Burke, is going to retire here shortly, and they want to talk to somebody that's at a peer institution like Georgia Tech, and just get a sense of what they should be looking for. So we just had a very nice, about an hour and a half conversation.
we talked about lots of things, but it wasn't an interview, it was just a conversation, so I didn't think anything more of it. And they said, thank you very much, we're gonna, it was very cordial, very good. We're gonna go out and have this search now, and go find our next athletic director. I said, great, look forward to see what happens. Well, that was in early May of 2016. Well, May comes and goes, June comes and goes, and I'm just doing my job. I'm the athletic director of Georgia Tech, doing what you do as an athletic director. Well, July comes and almost goes, and then near the end of July, I get another phone call. And they said, we've had this search and we've met lots of good people, but we were wondering if you'd be willing to have another conversation, sort of a different conversation this time. We kind of liked you, even though we saw you were the first person we spoke with, we still kind of like you, so would you mind if we'd have another conversation? So I came up under the dark of night here, it was in top secret, came up to West Lafayette and met Mitch at his home, and it was interesting because those of you that know Mitch, when he's not in a public formal setting, he's real casual. So we get to his door, he comes out, he's got a pair of cargo pants on, kind of a pair of work boots, and a brown sweater. He goes, you might as well get used to it now, because if this thing works out, this is what it's going to be. And I said, that's great. Hey, I'm good with that. So we had another really nice conversation. I go back home, and then within about a week, I get a phone call saying, okay, we're serious now. This is getting serious. You need to really think about whether or not this is a job that you would accept, because we would like to take the next step. And so, long and short of it happens, I'm fortunate enough to be offered this opportunity, and lots of folks have asked me, well, why? You were at a great place. Why would you do that at this point in your career? And as I was telling Jim, from a distance to me, Georgia Tech was great, but the Purdue opportunity looked to me to be one that was really unique and exceptional. First of all, it's very rare in this business when you get a chance to follow somebody that's been in place for a long time, and where the department is very stable, very well managed, run very well. It's not on fire. There are things that obviously need to be. There are always things that can be improved, but it was a very, very stable situation, and that was interesting to me. But what was also interesting that as I looked at it from a distance, and I've been in the business for 30 plus years, so I had a lot of familiarity with Purdue. I've been here as with a visiting team in basketball and in football back in the day, so I've seen it from different perspectives. My sense was that there was a lot more that was possible. There was a lot more potential and capability that wasn't being realized, and for me, that's what gets me going in the morning. I like to take organizations from where they are to where they can be. That's what I do. It's what I think I do well, and this opportunity just really appealed to me. And then there were some other pieces to it. While Atlanta was great, and it was great, I've spent half my life in the Midwest. Even though I'm a New Yorker, hopefully nobody will hold that against me. I've gotten that out of my system for the most part. I tried to keep the good parts and get rid of the bad parts of that. But if there are any good parts, but coming back to the Midwest was something that really felt good to me. And then from a purely selfish and personal perspective, my children, my daughter and her family are in Columbus, Ohio. My son and his family are in South Bend, so that was a lot better. It was a lot closer than Atlanta, I know that. So there were some personal things that kind of made sense at this point in life for me. So I was excited to have the opportunity. I've been excited since the day I started work on September 1st of 2016. School year was already underway. Some of our seasons were already happening. Football was ready to kick off on the 3rd. I think I was here 2 days before we played our first football game. But I would tell you, it's been great. I've had not a second of buyer's remorse. I mean, not 1 second of like, oh my gosh, I should have. Not one. I mean, I have been thrilled with the decision. I'm thrilled with the opportunity. It's everything I thought it was, and I thought I'd share a few of the things that I've seen and observed, and then give you a chance to ask any questions you might have of me. But first thing I'll tell you, my approach when you do these things, and I've done this now a couple times. I've taken over organizations multiple times. I don't ever come in and act like I got all the answers, because I don't have all the answers. I've got lots of experiences, and I've got lots of things that I've seen, and I've got perspective that I hope is helpful, but I don't have all the answers, and I don't ever want to pretend that I do, because you learn every day. Every situation is different. Every circumstance calls for different things. So my approach is just to listen, to learn, to try and understand. Everything is the way it is for a reason. Things evolve. in many cases for really good reasons, and really good work has been done. But then it also, because I'm new and I come with all this different experience and perspective, I get to ask all those questions about, well, why this? Why is this the best way? And if it is, tell me why we think it's the best way. And or perhaps have we thought about doing something this way? And so that's been really fun for me these first 8 months, to get a chance to sort of kick the tires on everything we do and how we do it. And that really is still underway. That's not done. And that will continue really for all time, but it'll continue in earnest now for another couple months until I get my arms around our entire operation and I see an entire school year as sort of a whole cycle of activity in athletics. So the things that I would tell you that jump out at me about Purdue and then actually Purdue athletics a little bit down the road. First of all, just the strength of Purdue. I mean, the quality of the degree, the success of our graduates. It is a powerful place, and it's a big place. Georgia Tech, where I came from, is literally half the size of Purdue, almost exactly half the size. It's got 20,000 versus 40,000, and the breakdown of grads and undergrads is very similar. So we're a big, really substantial institution, and that's impressive to me. And as I've met our graduates, the success that they've had, the lives that they've led as a result of their Purdue experience is really something that tells you a lot about the place, and it's been great to see that. There's a sense of family around Purdue that I love. I mean, it's so welcoming. I mean, from the day I got here, people have, even the Notre Dame thing notwithstanding, they've been very nice to me and just really welcome me in every single way, and that's great. I mean, not every place can do that or will do that. I mean, they have just really, I've just been embraced as a member of the Purdue family, and that's a great thing. One of the other unique things about Purdue, you all know this, is the generational legacy, where it's grandparents, it's parents, it's brothers, sisters, cousins, it's everybody goes to Purdue, and if you don't, when it comes to Thanksgiving, you got to eat in the kids' table. You can't. You're not allowed in the big room. You got to eat over there. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's thick. I mean, everything is really thick, and that's a really good thing. That's a really, really good thing. And again, that also tells you something about a place, because if anybody along the way has a bad experience or things go wrong, it doesn't continue. It stops. I mean, the chain is broken, but here it just continues and it continues. And I meet so many folks now who have, not yet college age children who say they're going to Purdue, whether they know it or not. They're going to Purdue. So it just the beat goes on. That's a really, really, really good thing for Purdue. And then our community. I mean, the community's been great. The living in the greater Lafayette area is so much easier than it was in Atlanta. I mean, I can't even tell you. It's not even close. But again, the people are just like salt of the earth, Midwestern folk, and I love that. I mean, I love being here. I love all of that. It's a great environment to live in day and out, and I'm really, really, really appreciative of all that. Our people, the Purdue community, really care deeply about the place. As I said, this legacy, this family feel, that there's a great connection to Purdue. But from an athletic perspective, while they care, and lots of them care, we've frustrated the daylights out of them for a while now, and I get that. I understand that. It's they're not happy with where we were in football, and they're not happy that we haven't done this and we haven't done that, and I get that, and I appreciate that frustration, and I'm thankful for it, because the worst thing that you can have are people that don't care. I mean, if they just don't care at all, if they just tune you out and say, I'm done with you, that's a tough situation. But as long as you have a pulse and you care at some level, we got something to work with. Even if you're mad, that's okay. Stay mad until we can make you happy. But just care. Keep at it a little bit. So that part is actually very, very good. In our athletic organization, as I mentioned before, very stable, very well led, very well managed. In fact, like managed to the highest level. I've never seen the department maybe managed quite so much, which is another question or something that I'm tackling as we go on here. And I'm not being critical, just what I observe, what I see. We've got lots of folks that have been with us for a long, long time, and that is a really good thing until it becomes not a good thing. And if you bear with me on that, if you know what I mean by that, and I'll explain that a little bit. Having that that sense of the place and then the understanding of our community and how things get done and how to make things move is all really, really good. But maintaining an edge and it's sort of that intense competitiveness that you have to have in our world sometimes is hard over a long period of time. So, you know, it's stability and continuity is a really, really good thing if you can stay fresh, if you can stay engaged, if you can stay motivated to try and be the best every single day. And so that's one of the things that I'm working on with our folks, is trying to get them to understand, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, what we need to look like as we move forward. You know, I think one of the things that happened, and this is, again, a byproduct of maybe long-term, very stable leadership and sort of the same folks in key positions for a long time, we accepted maybe less than we were capable of. We rationalized our results a little bit. And that's a nice way to say we made some excuses. And I if there's one thing that I just can't fathom, and I was raised this way. My parents would not allow me to do anything less, and my sister, we were not allowed to do anything at a standard that was less than what we were capable of. And that's just the way it was. And if we slipped, my mom and dad made sure we knew about it. It wasn't acceptable. If I came home with a report card that wasn't up to what they knew I was capable of, it was a problem for me, not for them. It was a problem for me, and it needed to get fixed. And under no uncertain terms, that's the way it was. And if I didn't, act the right way, if I didn't behave the right way, if I didn't live up to what they expected, it wasn't good enough. So I think again, so no excuses were ever tolerated in my household, and I try not to do that in a way that's uncomfortable or that creates a tough environment, but at some level, people need to understand that, hey, there's always a way. There is always a way to get better. There's always a way to do things a little bit more effectively than we did the day before, if you're thinking that way, if that's the way you approach your work every day. If you come in and just say, well, here I am today, and I'm just going to do what I've done every day and just kind of get by, we don't get better. We just don't get better with that approach. So it's a mindset change, and one that we need to really work on. A couple of other things that have happened over time to our program, and this is all fixable. I mean, we're already underway. Our national presence, our national identity has slipped. We're not as well known in the athletic world as we were at a point in time. And some of that is because we hadn't had those really successful performances in the highest profile sports. Back in the day, football was in the Rose Bowl, and men's basketball was competing for Final Fours, and they were winning 3 consecutive Big Ten championships, and women's basketball was winning national championships and playing in the Final Four. And those big things were happening, and people said, wow, look at Purdue, look at what's going on at Purdue. Well, that hadn't happened for a period of years now, and so in today's media world, in today's public consciousness, people's attention span is short. If you're not front and center, you're forgotten pretty quickly. And so we've been a little forgotten on that front. And so that, this past year, in basketball in particular, on the men's side, we made a little ground back up. We had a terrific year. We had a high-profile National Player of the Year in Caleb Swanigan. His remarkable story got told at the highest level. It got told on multiple national platforms. And not only was it great for Caleb, but it was great for Purdue. It was great for our athletic program because it got people thinking again about Purdue. And then we had, we were able to play to the Sweet 16. Would have been nice to go further. Obviously, we didn't play well against Kansas, particularly in the second half. But we at least we broke back into that conversation, which is a really good thing. Our women's team had a wonderful Big Ten tournament, played to the championship game there, and then we're this close to upsetting the #1 seed on their home court up in South Bend. And we took them to overtime, and in regulation had a shot to win the game, which would have been spectacular. But again, we've started our way back on that side of things, which is important as we move forward. For me, the really good news is we've got a great foundation. I mean, our place is really grounded in every way. There's stability. There's financial underpinnings that are solid. Lots of great things. And we've got a university, a president, a board of trustees that wants athletics to first and foremost to be done right, as we've done it for years, with integrity, with students that are legitimately students, that do the right things, that represent the place really, really well every day, but they want to win on top of that. And that's a great combination. And then you can't always get a president and a board of trustees to actually say those words, because sometimes it's unpopular to say that. They don't want to act like athletics is too big a deal. And not that we're a bigger deal than anything else. We're not. We're just one piece of the puzzle, but we're a really visible piece of the puzzle. We're one that people pay a lot of attention to, right or wrong. They pay lots of attention to us. So the fact that the leadership of the university wants to be successful has given me tremendous support, tremendous encouragement. Everything that I've brought to them for their consideration to this point, they've supported wholeheartedly. Whether it require resources or just a change of direction, they've just been great about it. And I couldn't be more excited about what's to come. I think the biggest thing for me internally is to get our folks to understand that our expectations need to be higher every day. We can't accept less than what we're capable of. Just like my mom and dad wouldn't accept it from my sister and I'm not going to accept it from our people. When I see them given less than what they're capable of, it's my job to address it. And again, to make sure that I give people the trust, the authority, the responsibility, and the support they need to achieve at a really high level. And for them to understand that for us to be a championship program, it takes everyday effort. It's not, you don't become a champion on game day. It doesn't happen just when you show up and the lights are bright and there's referees and you're keeping score. That's not when it happens. It happens every other day of the year. I mean, the work that you put in to get to those moments, to those competition moments, are where the difference is made. And that's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's everybody. It's our entire department, whether it be where Jim used to work in our communications area, whether it be in our marketing area, our trainers, our doctors, our strength and conditioning coaches. Everybody has got to perform at a certain level for our program to really be what it can be, and for our young people to have the greatest opportunity to be successful. And I would tell you that I'm pleased. I think, day by day, that message is taking root in our department. I think people are starting to feel that. They're starting to see that. There's a different level of energy. There's a different level of passion. There's a different level of pride in our future and our success. And that's exciting to me. And it'll be great fun to see that once it sort of really takes hold. Because right now, it's my job to just continue to tell that story and to beat that drum every single day until people own it themselves, until they get that, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're about. When someone interacts with Purdue Athletics, they want to walk away saying, wow, those people they're on it. There's a passion, there's an intensity, there's a sense of progress and moving forward that you don't feel everywhere. Well, I want to feel it at Purdue because we're capable of that. It's what we should be. It's what our community deserves, what our athletes deserve, what the Purdue family, I think, wants in a big way. We had a day yesterday. Some of you probably know about this. It was the Purdue Day of Giving, which is an annual one-day event, and lots of build-up, lots of things go on. It's a fun day in lots of ways. But as the day wore on, and there's competition on campus between all the different units. The Cranert and the College of Engineering, and the College of this, and athletics. We all compete to be sort of the most successful unit on any given day of giving. Well, yesterday, the good news at the end of the day was, for the first time ever, athletics won the day. We raised more money than any other unit on campus. It was $4.6 million yesterday. It was just awesome. And it had nothing to do. It was the result of lots of great people in our department working their tail off to make that happen. And we had over 1,200 individual people make a gift to us yesterday. And that in one day is really an amazing story. And that to me is a sign of what is possible and what can happen here at Purdue. And that's what we just need more of, and I want more of as we move forward. And I know we're about at that time. I'm going to wrap it up real quick. And the last thing I'm going to say is the first big thing, obviously, that I had to do when I got here was address the football situation. That was sort of the big visible thing. And again, with the support of President Daniels and our board, I think we've landed in a great place. I couldn't be more thrilled with the coaching staff that we have right now. Jeff Brohm and the folks that he's brought with him bring exactly what I described. They bring an intensity and an energy and a passion to work every single day. They are coaching our guys really hard. They're recruiting even harder because they recognize that we're in a bit of a talent deficit right now. We hadn't recruited well for a few years, but I promise you that's going to change. And I think, you know, as this fall comes around, it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. I'm hoping the results will be different, but I know there will be different once that roster gets flipped in the right direction. I'm really excited about what they're going to do. I mean, Jeff himself, Coach Brohm, he's a Purdue kind of guy. Even though he went to Louisville, I don't hold that against him either. But he is a Midwestern, hardworking, no nonsense, roll up your sleeves, let's go kind of guy. And I love working with him. We work together on lots of things every day, and I think you're all going to really enjoy what he brings to this community, what he brings to our football program, and ultimately what he's going to bring to Purdue. It's going to be lots of fun. So I'm really excited about the future.
About the football facility.
Our football facility, yes, Ted, thank you. Anybody that drives up and down Northwestern at any point in time sees this big appendage growing on the back of our indoor, the Molotov building. Well, in there will be a brand new weight room, which is massive, almost 19,000 square foot weight room. It's huge, huge, huge. A brand new training room with all the latest equipment, hydrotherapy, recovery and treatment pools, a beautiful locker facility, nutrition stations where we can feed our athletes, equipment room, coaches' offices, meeting rooms, a lounge and sort of a player development where they can relax a little bit, some pool tables and ping pong tables and video games and all the stuff they get to do when they've got a few moments. But just an absolute first-class complex that will tie right into our outdoor practice fields. It'll connect the current indoor facility with our outdoor practice fields and just be as good a complex as anybody's got in the country. That'll open in August. It's right on schedule. We'll move in there right before the season actually starts, and I'll tell you, our players, our coaches, really excited about it. And once that thing is real, the impact it'll have on recruiting is significant, because like it or not, when you're recruiting 17 and 18-year-olds, the good-looking buildings and fancy facilities get their attention. It makes a difference. And so it's really exciting to see it come to life, and it'll be here before you know it. So we're really, and that was great work by Morgan and Mike and the folks in our department to make that happen, and for our board to approve that. It's a big deal for Purdue football. Yes, Roy.
How are the players going to get from the new locker room all the way down the stadium and into the playing field?
For game day, we're still figuring out the game day routine. We may actually still use the old locker room just on game day, just because of proximity, until we can figure all that out. The ultimate plan is to obviously someday do something in the south end zone that would include a game day locker room that'll be right contiguous to the stadium. But in the meantime, they're young guys, they can walk 100 yards, so they'll probably make it. If they can't make it, we got the wrong guys. We got bigger problems if they can't make it 100 yards. Yes, sir.
I was in Clearwater, Florida in January,
Yeah.
shortly after you made your decision, and I had my Purdue shirt on, and had 3 people walk up to me and said, your decision, not only as a coach, but as an individual, was a great decision. And we've got a lot coming from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah, that's great. That's terrific. You know, I truly, you know, for what it's worth, you know, the sporting press at the end of the whole football cycle this past year, when coaches were hired around the country, and there were lots of big ones. It was Oregon, it was LSU. There were a number of Texas. There were lots of big jobs that were out there, and so people rank things these days. Well, our hire was ranked the #1 hire around the country by basically everybody that ranked them, which, and I think that's awesome. And I think it's because of who Jeff is as a coach, you know, his pedigree, his success, but more than anything, I think his perceived fit to Purdue. When we've been great in the past, it's because we've hired somebody that's got a particular skill and expertise, and Jeff has that. He is a brilliant offensive mind. Our players already feel it. If you talk to our offensive players right now that work with him every day and that are coached by him every day, they're like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. He's got these, you know, he makes these significant, maybe seemingly insignificant, but he makes these tweaks and these adjustments to scheme and approach that just matter. And the guys are building confidence, and like, wow, it's going to be hard for people to stop us. Once again, it'll help when we have an offensive line that can block some people and all that. That's part of it. But But the strategy and the approach is really unique, and I think will serve us really well. But I appreciate that. I feel the same way. I better hire the guy. I better like him. Yes, sir.
Roy Johnson in the stretch mentioned the turf farm on Cherry Lane. There's no real good connection between campus and the athletic facilities. In
Right.
fact, it's downright dangerous
Right.
riding a bike on Cherry Lane. Is anything being done to develop walking and bike trails?
That is in the longer term plan. It's not immediate because there's so many other things that are underway right now. But we do recognize that that's an issue. The new fields that are going up at the corner of Cherry and McCormick on the I guess it would be the northeast are rec fields. They're to replace the black fields that are going to be part of the State Street Development Project. So those are all student rec fields. They're not intercollegiate fields, but we've got obviously that beautiful complex where baseball, softball, tennis, and soccer are, which is terrific. And in no small part, I think, it has something to do with our baseball program bouncing back here right now and doing really good stuff. They've been fun to watch this spring. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Well done.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, we got a little gift for you here. It's our mug. I know you already got one of those.
Chocolate cookies, I hope?
Well, we can get you some more of those too. So thank you very much for being here and talking to the Kiwanians.